Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Puma El Gato, the cat that always gives you your liberty back. And to my right over here is the main man, Jesus Dinero, that man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die, deadlier than the Diaz brothers and producing spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans. Well, we are filming this on 4th of July. It is 4th of July as we speak. If you hear any booms in the background, that's people celebrating out there. We want to wish you a happy 4th of July, and also we want to give our condolences to the unfortunate happening that happened in the Parkland shooting today. It was a very unfortunate incident, especially on a joyous holiday such as this. It is a very tragic thing that happened today.
Let me correct my man a little bit. Highland shooting, my man. The
Highland, sorry.
No worries. I mean, we can easily mix it up with the Parkland shooting that happened not that long ago. With that being said, again, we give our condolences to everybody out there that was unfortunately affected by this mass shooting. Prayers. Hopefully, everyone is safe. Hopefully, everybody gets home. I know, the story's developing, so the casualties, I'm sure, will be coming along the way. But with that being said, again, condolences. Let's go ahead and move on to our first story. UFC 276 this past weekend. We have opinions, we have conclusions, and I think it definitely sets up a couple things moving forward with the winners of the fights. Fight number one, Sugar Sean versus my man Pedro. Here's the thing, I'll be honest with you, I'm sure a lot of you probably agree with this. I think it was a stupid way to end the fight. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure if Pedro felt that he was in fact poked in the eye more than once, maybe it was there, maybe it wasn't. I'll be honest with you, in the replay, didn't really look like that bad of a poke to me. Definitely enough to stop the fight for a moment, but not enough to stop the whole thing and declare it a no contest. I think it was a stupid ending to the fight, but what do you think, my man?
I actually kind of lightly disagree with you. I think the way that he extended the fingers out of the hand, it looked like it was almost intentional, but again, I can give benefit to the doubt and say, alright, it was a messy ending to the fight. I can understand why it would be a no contest. So all around, it was just a messy looking fight. It didn't, nobody came out the winner out of that one.
So here's the thing. My thing overall, I'll be honest with you. Sean has been fighting people that are unranked, and he's getting all the credit in the world for fighting these dudes that I mean, they're not really top tier guys. Munoz would have been the first guy that he would have fought that would have been in the top 10. But with that being said, he was on a losing streak anyway. So it's not like, it would have been that great of a challenge. Again, I think it was a sloppy end to the fight. Do they need to run it back? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think Sean, for the most part, was kind of winning the fight. Not to take anything away from Munoz, but at the same time, I think the fight was not that great. I think the ending was dog shit. I don't think it was a great fight to begin with, but again, this would have been Sean's break into the top 10. So hopefully we can see something, if not with Pedro, something else similar, someone else in the top 10, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think my man should be getting all the accolades that he's getting just for facing people in the that aren't ranked, that aren't in the top 10. But we'll see what happens moving forward. Any more to say on that particular fight?
Do we want to talk about what happened backstage with the post-fight interview with Sugar Sean?
You know what? Go ahead and talk about that, my man.
So Sugar Sean was in the middle of a post-fight interview, and he actually got interrupted by none other than the Triple C, Henry Cejudo, in which Henry Cejudo actually challenged him on the spot. We can do this right now if you want. To which Sugar Sean was almost kind of like, really, bro? You want to do this right now? And they're like, no, come on, let's fucking do it. Call the fight. To which he was like, whatever. He just kind of brushed him aside. A lot of people were saying that Henry Cejudo, with his body language of rubbing his facial hair and almost kind of a not so aggressive stance, made me think, oh, he's kind of anxious. I was like, you're really calling two divisional champion Henry Cejudo passive in this? No, he was instigating it. That's what I don't get.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mean, if there's anyone out there, and I know that you saw some responses on Reddit saying that Henry Cejudo was the scared individual in those two. I mean, if you watch the video, man, to me it looks like Sean don't want none. And don't get me wrong. Again, Sean hasn't faced anybody that's ranked. Triple C is not just ranked, man. He was a fucking champion. He was a top dog in multiple divisions. So can I understand why Sugar Sean would be scared? Yeah, but it just goes to prove my point. Look, Sean is not at that level yet, but he acts like he is. In fact, I believe before his fight at UFC 276, he said that he can beat anybody in the 135-pound division. so on and so forth. And we're like, and my thought is like, look, my man, you haven't even faced anyone in the top 10. Yeah, you've been knocking out dudes that are unranked. That's cool, but at the same time, it's like, yo, you haven't beat anybody. You haven't beat anybody of note. And again, and I'm not trying to take away. If you break into the top 10, fair. Dope, cool, you're in the top 10. Start making your way to that number 1 spot so you can get that title shot. The problem that I have is like, even Pedro, yeah, he was in the top 10, but he's on a losing streak. He's lost the last 2 fights that he's had. So it's not like they're feeding him to the fucking sharks. He's on a losing streak. I personally feel like they were feeding Munoz to Sean because it was an easy way to get into the top 10. We'll have to see how it goes moving forward, but I'll be honest with you, anyone that thinks that Triple C is scared of Sean is fucking insane to me. You're a dumbass, and you should be made to look like a dumbass for that. It's fucking ridiculous that people think, that's why I don't like fanboys. One thing that you'll learn from this podcast is, look, there may be fights where I have a personal dog in the race and I may want a certain individual to win.
As am I.
Over another, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, I'll give you the hard facts about scenarios. Whether I like the fighter or not, I'll keep it real. If I don't like the fighter, but they're fucking good, dope. I'll give you a really good example. I'm not a big fan of Colby, but I'll be honest with you, the motherfucker's a beast. So there's a lot of scenarios in which I may like a fighter, but if he's doing dog shit or if he had bad behavior or he's a terrible fighter, whatever, I'll tell you. I'll be honest about it. With that being said, everyone that's on the sugar train, I feel like you guys are just really dick riding this dude way too hard because again, he hasn't beat anybody. That's not to take shots at Sean. Do I think he has potential? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of potential there. The problem is that people are shooting him to the moon and he hasn't really been tested. Also, I'm not gonna lie, man, and I know that he does this for trolls, and I know that he specifically does it to piss people off. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, the people that fall for it, you guys are dumbasses. But this whole thing where he throws up the 0 when he really has a loss, like I get it, man. You didn't like that you lost, and I'll be honest with you, the loss that you did have, I think the loss is a little bullshit. But the truth is, you got injured. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You got injured, Sean, and you have to accept the fact that since you got injured, you couldn't continue, so you took the L. It wasn't your opponent's fault that you couldn't continue. You couldn't continue. You got hurt. Whether he did something to hurt that leg or you had it hurt coming in, doesn't matter. You chose to move forward with the fight, so that's on you. Take the L. Again, I know that he throws up the O to piss people off and troll them and everything, but it's stupid to me.
Well, because in that post-fight interview, he said that he was physically unbeaten. And I was like, but you lost. You got injured. Like, how can you say not physically beaten when your fucking leg gave out?
And here's the thing. I'll be honest with you. With Chito Vera, the guy that beat him. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if Chito would have won that fight. Would Sean not have gotten hurt? I don't know. I can't tell you. In that particular fight, as I was watching it before the injury, I personally did think that Sean was winning. Again, I'm giving you guys proof right now that even though I may not necessarily be in a fighter's corner, I'll give it to you. I do think that Sean was winning the fight, but that's regardless of the point. He lost. He took the L. He couldn't continue. Again, that wasn't fucking Chito Vera's fault. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move on from this one because again, we can go back and forth about what's what. But let's move on to the next fight, which I'll be honest with you was personally my favorite fight of the night, just because it was really the most explosive one. My man Stonehands,
Alex Pereira,
Poatan, defeating Sean Strickland. Look, I'll be honest with you. I watched the build-up. I always watch the build-up to these fights. I watched the press conference, where Sean was taking more shots at Izzy than he was at his opponent, and he said, apparently moving towards the fight, he said, "I'm gonna stand and trade with this guy." To me, that was stupid because again, you can't fight a man whose nickname is Stonehands and stay right in front of him, not have any head movement because Sean didn't have much head movement. You can't stay there and hope to trade with this dude. And what happened? He got knocked the fuck out. And look, here's the thing. I don't have anything against Sean Strickland. I think he's a cool guy. I think he's a funny little motherfucker. I don't think he's very clever, but it is what it is. With that being said, I think it's stupid for a lot of reasons. And when we talk about the Izzy fight here in a second, I'll further move this point forward. You can't if you're an expert in a particular field, for example, wrestling. Let's say you're a wrestler. And you say to yourself, I'm going to stand up and trade with this man who's a kickboxer, just as an example. You can't do that. You're giving up your advantage in the fight to say, just because you want to be a badass, didn't work for Sean Strickland. Now, I'm not saying, he maybe had a game plan that he hadn't had a chance to implement. But again, he stayed trading with him. He didn't have any head movement. The knockout was bound to come. And it came. and it came. I also like how at the end, Stonehands was saying, "Hey man, I want you guys all to root for Izzy because he wants some of that. He wants Israel Adesanya. He's already beat him 2 times. One time he knocked him out when they were doing kickboxing. So it's going to be an interesting fight once that happens. Apparently, it looks like it might be happening next. And props to Izzy because Izzy's not backing down. So good for him, man, for saying, hey, he's the one that I want next. Good for him. Thoughts?
Yeah, man, it was scary because again, the entire fight he looked like a man on a mission. Even after the fact, when they called his name as the victor of that match, he was like, "Well, fuck did you expect? What else am I here to do besides just win?" And I actually pulled up this quote right now because somebody pulled it up. Poten said, quote, "2 years ago, Adesanya said that I would be in a bar sitting with my friends, drinking and telling them that I beat him twice. He never believed that I would be here and so fast. And look, the world goes round and round and I will fight him in the next fight." Just fucking insane. It's almost like he's a man on a mission, man. He's got something to prove, bro.
Here's the thing that I'll say about the 2 fights that Alex has over Izzy. So the first fight, it was close. It was close, and some people say you could have called it either way. I'll be honest with you. I think Alex took it. The second one, Izzy came and he was basically trying to continue the final round of their first fight. It looked like Izzy was on a mission to show that he deserved to win the first fight. But then, lo and behold, he got knocked the fuck out. I like Izzy. He's one of my favorite fighters on the UFC roster. It's gonna be interesting, man. Look, I think Izzy's gotten a lot better since those days of strictly kickboxing, of the days that he fought Alex Pereira. I think he's gotten a lot better. I think he's much more rounded in the sense of like he's gotten. If you guys saw the fight, he has very good takedown defense, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really mean a whole lot because Alex Pereira's not going to try and take him to the ground. But with that being said, I do think Izzy's game has evolved all around. So is it going to be different? I do think it's going to be a little bit of a different fight. Can Alex still pull it off? Who knows? Maybe. Again, if you guys have seen any of Alex's highlights, which I suggest you do, he's got power in his hands, man. And the only thing that worries me for Alex potentially winning is who hasn't Izzy faced that has power. He's faced a lot of these dudes that, again, the Killer Gorilla that he faced just this past weekend, he has power. I can't remember the dude's name from Brazil. I can't remember what he was, but a lot of his fucking opponents, I know I should remember them. His name's just not coming to me right now. A lot of the dudes that he's faced has strictly been dudes that have power. So it's one of those scenarios that yes, Alex has power, but the thing is he also has technique. So maybe that's why it might be different. We'll have to see. But I think it's going to be a good fight moving forward. Alex Pereira has a lot of experience. Izzy has a lot of experience. To be honest with you, I think this fight is coming at a good time because Izzy's running out of opponents. So we'll have to see how that goes, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Anything else you want to say on the Alex and Strickland fight?
No, it was just very fucking quick and easy in the first round.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like it was a minimal effort on Alex's part. But again, we'll go ahead and move on. Volkanovski versus Holloway, their third encounter. If you watch the UFC fight, what's there to say, man? The commentators really said it all. I think Volkanovski has proven that he's leagues ahead in his division. It's one of those scenarios where I told my co-host here that if there's anyone that's gonna beat him, it'll be Max Holloway. But I did tell him I don't think that Holloway's gonna be able to pull it off. I think right now Volkanovski's in his prime. He seems too good right now. He seems too good for the people in his division, and that's not talking shit about the division. It's a great division. I just think again, he's in that perfect zone. He's got great fucking speed. He's got good power. He's technical. I think again he's just in the perfect zone for himself right now. So good for him for taking the W on that. It's well deserved, obviously. And Max Holloway's a great dude. I got a lot of respect for Blessed. But again, it just unfortunately he was just 2 sets behind Volkanovski.
Yeah, I think that cut above his eye really fucking did him in. Either Volkanovski really fucking got him good, or their cutman failed him, or it was just that.
I don't think the cutman failed him, and that thing was fucked up. That
yeah, because they got deep in there for like the swab to like just bathe in that at that point.
Yeah, it was a really really bad cut, and I do agree with you that
in the later rounds, yeah, like it was in the time allotted they couldn't they couldn't suture that up in time. That was just gonna bleed for the rest of the match.
Yeah, they did the best that they could, but it was too bad of a cut, and I do agree with you. It did affect him. There was a couple times he looked like you could tell that he was wiping his eyes a little bit. Again, Volkanovski, I just feel like he was too fast, he was too crisp, he was too on the button. He was hitting the shots, and he had a high percentage, if I'm not mistaken, of connecting with the shots. So not much to say there either. Once we're finished talking about that, I'll talk about that whole not much to say, because it kind of seems like the same problem is happening in a lot of the divisions in UFC. But on to the final fight. Let's go ahead and talk about the Killer Gorilla versus my man Izzy Adesanya. I'll be honest with you, the fight was not the most entertaining. I think both guys were giving each other too much respect. I think Izzy definitely deserved to win. The right man won. There's one thing that Izzy said at the post fight conference that I'll be honest with you, it irked me a little bit. He was saying that people were I get one of the reporters asked him, there was people that were leaving in the 4th round. There's you're being booed, and he's like, there's all these greats that got booed during their fights because people don't respect technique. People don't respect when you become such a high level person. But here's the thing, it's not that, Izzy. It's the fact that you guys, neither one of you was really doing anything. It's not like your technique was just so high above the Killer Gorilla. It just you guys weren't doing anything. I mean, for the most part, Jared Cannonier seemed like he was trying to find spots, but you just weren't giving it to him. And on the reverse end, you weren't really attacking either. Yeah, you had your moments where you threw a couple here and there and you got Jared good. But for the most part, it kind of seems like you guys were both really passive in the fight. And again, don't get me wrong. I think I have a lot of respect for Jared. I have a lot of respect for Izzy. I think it was a dumb comment. I think that was one of those scenarios where Izzy's trying to boast a little bit too much. But again, I think the right man won. It was just a little bit of a slow fight, a little bit of a boring fight. But again, Izzy proves why he's top dog. What do you think about the fight?
I can see what he means about the quote, but I mean, usually the people that they say that for are usually for people that, at least how I took the quote, it's more directed towards people that use more technical stuff, like Khabib, for example. Like, people don't really like grappling, whatever. And I can get why they would be pissed about that. I personally like it. I think it's more scientific, but it doesn't make for a spectacle of a match.
Yeah.
But if that's what he was trying to go for, where he was trying to be more scientific with his striking, it really wasn't. Again, there wasn't really much of a, like, here's my thing on this. Obviously, we can all tell Alex Pereira is hot on his trail as far as the fight goes, whatever. Alex Pereira showed more in his exhibition of a match than Izzy did in defense of his championship. In this case, it doesn't look good on Adesanya to look this slow, this inactive in his fight.
Yeah, and
especially in a championship fight like that.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into my point, which I'm gonna give a little bit of credit to Adesanya here. So one thing, if you notice in the UFC divisions, it seems like the champions are lapping everybody. And what I mean by that is, let's be honest here, Izzy doesn't have a whole lot of competition. He's beaten damn near everybody. Jared was like the new challenger, so to speak. Usman, he's literally beaten almost everybody in his division twice. He's about to face Leon Edwards here very soon. And after that, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who he's going to face. Same thing with Volkanovski. Amanda Nunes there for a really long time. She didn't have any challengers. Valentina Shevchenko. That's already Valentina, Amanda, Izzy, Volkanovski, Usman. I mean, we're talking about 5 different divisions there. 5 different divisions there, where you have the top, the top guy, the champions, and they're running out of opponents. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like what the UFC does, in the sense of they push people too fast. And I know what you're saying, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because we need clearly more people. But the problem is that they're pushing people way before they're ready for these fights. Like, I'll be honest with you, again, if you look at all of Izzy's most recent fights, he's been facing guys that they're one-dimensional fighters. Again, they have power. That's really about it. The one loss that he has against a guy that, he stepped up in weight, but it wasn't a power guy. Yeah, you know, John always talks about the Polish power and whatnot, but he out wrestled him. Izzy was just not that big of a guy. He out wrestled him. He muscled him to the ground, and he couldn't do anything. So I think people like Izzy just get fed certain fighters because they're the hot commodity for that particular moment, but they're not ready for an Izzy. Izzy's on another level. Usman's only real challenge was Colby. Other than Colby, I'll be honest with you, I don't think any other guys even came close. If I'm being 100% honest. I mean, Charles Oliveira, that's another really good example. I mean, it's unfortunately the UFC's having this problem in multiple divisions where the top guy just is so far ahead of everybody else that, I'll be honest with you, man, it's getting to a point where a lot of people, and I've read comments about it, where people are saying, there's no point, we know who's going to win. And that's bad business, you know, that's bad for the UFC because, I mean, I'll be 100% honest, I personally didn't think Amanda Nunes was going to lose her title. Did it happen? Yeah, it happened. What I was telling my man here is I don't think that particular scenario, I don't think it's going to repeat. And this is no disrespect to anybody. This is no disrespect to any of the champions. But I think Amanda just had a really bad night that night. And unfortunately for her, you know, it came on a night where she was, you know, defending her championship. But with that being said, you know, there seems to be the ongoing problem again, and I just gave you guys multiple examples of champions where they're not being beat. Not only are they not being beat, but they're, again, even just as an example in Usman's case, they're literally beating their opponents twice. They're beating everybody in the top five twice. So it's one of those scenarios where, you know, they got to figure some shit out, man. They got to figure some shit out because it's getting a little bit too dry for all these champions. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, we're pretty dead on. I mean, I know Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes are coming to fight again on the 30th. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see if that rings true, especially for that weight division and the women's rank.
And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think Juliana Pena comes off as a very likable person. She seems like a very nice individual. She's very cool. She's cool as shit. The problem is, I think Juliana just had a great night, and I think Amanda had a terrible night. So it's just one of those scenarios where I don't see it repeating again. And this is no disrespect to Juliana. She deserves to be champion. She whooped that ass. But again, I just think Amanda just had a terrible night that night, and I think Juliana had a great night. So with that being said, we'll see what the UFC comes up with as far as a solution. And hopefully they can, because I'll be honest with you, you know, it's looking like most of these people, there's not a whole lot of contenders coming up, which kind of sucks. And I know some people will be like, oh, but this person, but that person. But again, forget who's coming up. Look at who's champion right now and think to yourself, can this person beat this, you know, the champion? In a lot of these cases, you know, it's not looking like it might be. The only one where I think it might be contested, and I'll be honest with you, I still have Charles winning, is Islam versus Charles Oliveira. I think it'll be an interesting fight. I think Charles is just on a really good spot. Can he lose? He can lose. I think it's a 60-40, 60 that Charles retains his title. Or, I mean, I guess gets it back, you know, because he lost it because of the weight. If he does face Islam next. But I think Islam stands a chance. I just think Charles is just too much in the zone right now. But we'll definitely see. With that being said, let's move on to our next topic. It's a topic that, I'll be honest with you, kind of came to me not this past weekend, but the weekend before. That bugged the crap out of me. And I know we're going to get a lot of hate for this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Pro-Nouns. I watched a video in which individuals were talking about how you address transgender folk that are not 100% sure where on the spectrum they may be. One day they may feel more feminine, one day they may feel more masculine. And, you know, they gave the general, you know, the they, their, you know, all that stuff. And that, okay. Again, I am in support of the transgender community. If you want me to call you Miss when you were born a Sir, I will call you Miss, and vice versa. I'm here for it. Where I started to get pissed off is where people apparently come up with neo-pronouns in which they get to choose, and by what I mean by choose is they get to create their own pronouns, and then I'm supposed to divine this shit. listen, if you want me to say they, I will say they. Cool, respect, whatever. But when you start saying it's not they, it's they, or whatever the fuck word you came up with, that you divined, that you created out of fucking nowhere, and you expect me to just divine on Tuesday, you feel feminine, and on on Wednesday, you feel fucking masculine, and I'm supposed to divine, you know, how you feel that particular day and what I'm supposed to attribute to. You're out of your fucking mind. Like, listen, again, I respect, I will call you miss or whatever your preferred terminology is, I will call you that. But when you start making up words is when I start personally having a problem with it. I can wrap my mind around they. I can wrap my mind around he, she, her, his. I can wrap my mind around all that shit. But when you start saying they, when you start saying z, all that stuff is like, look, my man, like you're creating too much here. Like especially because you gotta think, someone who is more enlightened, someone who's more liberal-minded, someone who's more respectful, okay, they may come to terms with what you're asking for a little bit easier. But you're expecting people, randoms, especially people on the street, they have no obligation to call you anything but what they want to call you. They could call you fucking asshole if they want. You're expecting them to address you. What pissed me off mostly about this video is that, you know, the people in the video were very entitled. One of them specifically saying that if you don't address me as their preferred pronoun, you will not address me, period. Okay, so let's say, again, we're in a fucking line at the store and you're on your fucking phone and, you know, you're next to line, but because you're on your fucking phone, you're not paying attention to what the fuck am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to be like, hey, the goddamn line, hurry the fuck up, and you're just not gonna acknowledge me because I don't have the right to acknowledge you? Nah, y'all motherfuckers need to get your shit to fucking together. And listen, you have to understand, the world is not shaped to fucking call you what the fuck you want. The world's gonna move on without you, whether you fucking like it or not. So you need to man the fuck up and take care of your shit. Woman the fuck up. Whatever your preferred terminology is. Thoughts on that?
I mean, you say it was last weekend that you found out about this, but really it's been going on since like the early 2000s. I know there was an individual by the name of Milo Stewart, where they came out and said like there actually does exist 76 genders. I was like, huh? Like 76 genders? Like at what point?
Apparently it's 100 and something now, but
oh my goodness.
Yeah, go on now.
My thing with all this is like there's a whole bunch of labels being put out there and like people don't want to adhere to like a single one. That's at least how I feel. To be honest, I feel like it's not just a gender thing. It's just like, I don't know, man. I feel like societal norms in general, people just don't want to adhere to it for whatever fucking reason. And it's like it's mad. It's maddening.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Again, transgender community. I will march with you. I respect you. I would like to be an advocate for you guys. I want to help you guys achieve what you want to achieve. The problem is because there's too much. There's too much out there for individuals who want to be inclusive and want to have you guys be respected. For us, now include the people that don't want you as part of the community. They say that you guys are an abomination and whatever the fuck else they say. Like, you guys are putting too much weight on a situation that the stretch beams are already starting to crack. Again, you can't expect, an individual that was born in the 50s, and don't get me wrong, there's some that are cool as fuck, but you can't expect some individual that was born way back then to understand why you want to be called Zay or Z or whatever the fuck else.
Or Zaddy.
Whatever the fuck it is, all that stupid shit. Listen, respect to the community, respect to the LGBTQ community, all that. I will fucking hoist the flag with you guys. I will fucking be respectful, but you guys have to understand, we can't divine when you feel feminine, when you feel masculine, or apparently there's a zone where you're neither. You're
intergender.
You're something random. You're both. You're none. You're everything that exists on the planet. Like, look, we can't divine this shit. And I know what some people say. Well, why don't you just ask? Because how do I address you? How do I say? If I don't know your fucking name, you're a random individual. How do I address you and say, hey miss, hey sir, hey individual? I mean, you can't expect me to know when you feel like a man, when you feel like a woman, when you feel intersex, when you feel fluid, when you feel whatever it is that you feel. And again, I will respect you, but it's getting a little fucking ridiculous. And look, I'm a man of science. I will keep it 100 with you guys. At the end of the day, I have a personal belief, but out of respect, I will honor whatever it is that you want me to call you. But when you start making up words is when you guys are losing me. And I'll tell this to the people out there that I know this is going to piss some people off. Listen, you may feel the right to be called whatever you want. That's perfectly fine. You don't have a right to have other people call you that. You may want to be called that. Your family may indulge you. Your significant other may indulge you. That's perfectly fine. You may address yourself however you want. What you don't have the right is to force other people to call you what they want. Again, I hate... And the thing that bothers me is when the argument on the left becomes so ridiculous that it forces me to agree with somebody on the right. Because I'll tell you, I have very little in common with the right. Very little. There's a few things, don't get me wrong, but very, very little. So when you start saying stuff like, I prefer to be called Zay, just as an example, or Z, and a person on the right poses the argument, in that case, my pronouns are sexy and daddy, and you may not refer to me as anything else other than hey sexy or hey daddy. Like, you see where I'm going is, like, you guys are fueling an argument that can be made against you, and that's why I personally have a problem with it. Again, I will respect you, I will advocate for you as much as I possibly can, but when you start making up words is where I can't follow you guys. Anything else you want to add to this topic, my man?
Well, I mean, in regards to that person, I was like, you can only refer to me as this, and you don't refer to me at all. I was like, yep, I understand. If you want us to be an ally, we have to meet both ways. Again, if I mistakenly called somebody a he and I was like, I'm a she, and I was like, all right, forgive me, that's on me. When I was like, you should have known, I was like, well, fucking sorry.
Yeah, how the fuck am I supposed to know? That's what I'm saying. You guys are and when I say you guys, the transgender community, you guys are making enemies of people who would normally be advocates of you. And here's the thing, people within your own community don't agree with you. It's one of those scenarios where, for the people that believe in women's rights, myself included, I believe in women's rights. For women or TERFs that believe that transgender women are not women, like, you guys are all falling into this niche group, because not everybody agrees on women's rights, in which transgender women and women agree on women's rights, but women don't agree that transgender women are women. So now you've got a sect that are in this inclusive women's rights movement, but not inclusive of all the ideals that each individual group has. See what I'm saying? So that's where it becomes an issue. You within your own community don't agree. So how can you expect us on the outside to also agree and to also just fall in line with whatever you divine that particular day? It's a little crazy, and again, it's just, for me personally, it's when you start making up words. They, he, she, whatever. All of that, fine. When you start getting to Zay, I can't, and that's my personal thing. I know I'm gonna get hate from both because I'm still respecting the transgender community. I'm gonna get hate from the transgender community because I'm saying it's getting a little fucking ridiculous. But honestly, that's my personal opinion. Like I told you guys, the number one thing on this podcast is we're always gonna be honest about how we feel and what we talk about. So that's my personal opinion. Can't speak for my man here, but that's me.
No, I agree with you. I mean, yeah.
Alright, with that being said, let's move on to our final story, one that we're both pretty passionate about. The basic overturning of Roe V Wade. Look, man, my number one thing is personal liberty. Personal liberty in all aspects, in relation to gun control, in relation to women's rights, in relation to fucking being able to smoke weed, in relation to basically anything. I believe in personal rights, meaning that I, as an individual, as long as what I am doing does not harm anyone outside of my home, anyone within this home, anybody else, I have the right to do what I please. As long as it's not illegal, as long as I'm not hurting anybody, as long as I'm not abusing kids, abusing women, whatever, I have a right to do it. With that being said, I think what the Supreme Court has done is a fucking travesty. The only individuals that a woman should have to talk to is a doctor about whether she's going to get an abortion or not. Doesn't matter. If she wants to talk to her husband, fair. I do feel like a woman should talk to her spouse, husband, boyfriend, whatever the fuck it may be, about what they want to do. But in the end, I do believe it is the woman's choice. If a woman decides, if her husband says, I don't want you to get an abortion, and a woman says, I'm going to get one, hey, it is what it is. It's definitely the woman's choice, in my opinion, and I think what the Supreme Court is doing is ridiculous. With that being said, ladies, I do want to point one thing out. Make sure that I'm not saying we as men should have a say in whether you decide to keep a child. Not at all. It is your decision. It is your God-given right. It is your right regardless of whether there is a God or not. What I will say is, don't make enemies out of the men who agree with you, because women saying men shouldn't have a say in this. Again, I agree with you that it is your sole decision whether you should give birth to that child. Where I don't agree is you're saying, me as an advocate for your right, you're saying, shut the fuck up, you're a man, you shouldn't say anything. Well, I'm agreeing with you, so now you're losing me. Now you're forcing me to be pushed aside, and you no longer have more support than you should. So again, I do believe women should have the absolute right to decide if they're going to carry that child to term or not, bar none, regardless. So I do believe that it's a travesty what the Supreme Court is currently doing. What are your thoughts, my man?
I mean, it really is a tragedy, but at the same time, like, as far as Democrats, like, there's just a bunch of non-fucking action.
Yeah.
Like, Nancy Pelosi herself saying this is a travesty, saying a constitutional right has been revoked. What was her first fucking action? Reading a goddamn fucking poem. What does a poem do?
Yeah, man. Here's the thing. Generally speaking, I lean more liberal. I have certain beliefs that align with conservative beliefs, but for the most part, I do lean liberal. But I'll say this: the Democrats are a bunch of fucking pussies. The Democrats are not doing anything, and they expect you to continue to vote for them. Now, here's the thing: do I believe that the Democrats are the lesser of two evils? You know, in certain aspects, yeah, I believe that they're the lesser of two evils. But with that being said, they really aren't doing shit. They're not doing anything. So to say, continue to vote for us, you know, we need your vote. Otherwise, you know, we're gonna not be able to stop it. Well, it's already happened, because let's back up for a second. Let's say the Democrats, because what Joe Biden is saying is, give me 2 more senators, and we will start working on a law that we can pass, because then we'll have a majority that we won't need. The 2 Democrats that are fucking up, Sinema and Manchin, that are fucking up our current vote, we'll have enough to where we'll be able to pass a law. So what's going to happen? Let's say it passes the House, it passes the Senate, goes on to the President signs off, bam, law. You know what's going to happen? Someone in the conservative state is going to challenge it. You know what's going to happen then? It's going to make its way up to the Supreme Court. Hey, and guess what? It's going to happen. The Supreme Court's going to say, nope, you don't have a constitutional right to do that. So really, unless the Democrats are willing to talk about expanding the fucking court, we don't have anything to talk about here. It's just gonna get fucking shot down. So I think it's a lot of bullshit that the Democrats, and here's the thing, they know it. They know it's a lot of horseshit. Joe Biden has outright said, we're not gonna expand the court, not willing to hear it, blah, 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 blah. No, we have nothing to say, because any law that you put into place will eventually be challenged by some red state, and eventually it'll make its way up to the court, and eventually, because there's a conservative majority in the Supreme Court, it's gonna get shot down. So don't fall for the foolishness that the Democrats are trying to sell you. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think you should give up? Absolutely not. You should fight, continue to fight, and do whatever you can. But what you need to do is push the Democrats to take some fucking action. Stop being, you know, so fucking wimpy. Stop fucking taking this bullshit lying down and actually do some shit. Thoughts?
The inaction's been going on for years, and I know because, again, for Roe V Wade happened in what, 1972? That's when that landmark case happened. 1980, somewhere around that time. I understand them not wanting to codify it, because at the time when that law was written, abortion was nowhere near getting support that it was getting. I understand the first 20, 30 years, maybe even the early 2000s onwards, it wouldn't have passed if you tried to codify it. I want to say maybe in Obama's first term, I think that would have been the sweet spot, but they chose not to. Yeah. And even now, talks of Roe V Wade being codified into law, they didn't want to do it solely because they came out and said, well, that's our carrot and stick. It's what Republicans wanting to ban abortion, that was their carrot and stick. Now, making abortion legal, now that's a Democrat's carrot and stick. So they're playing with these constitutional rights like it's a game of fucking chess. We're not chess pieces. It's sickening that what you were saying, what they're saying, a constitutional right was revoked. But hey, let's get congressional funding. Come on, let's do this. We can get it back. But you were actively toying around with rights being taken away just to get party votes. It's sickening.
I agree with you. And you know, the fact is, let's be honest here, it's both parties. Both parties continuously play this carrot and stick game, like you said, with certain rights. Like, here's the thing. I believe every American that can legally own a firearm should own a firearm. I believe it is your right to defend yourself, to defend your family. I'll be honest with you, I feel like it's your right to defend your shit. If someone wants to come in my house and try and take my TV that I busted my ass to buy, look, if they're fucking threatening to take my shit, threatening to fucking come at me, I will fucking shoot your fucking ass. So I do think it is your right to defend yourself and defend your property. This is your fucking castle. Where you live is your fucking home. You deserve to feel safe in your home. With that being said, the Republicans play this fucking fear-mongering game of the Democrats are gonna take your rights away. They're gonna take your guns away. You know, blah blah blah. They're not going to. I think it's fucking stupid for anybody that believes it, and unfortunately, a lot of fucking conservatives believe it. Let's just be 100% honest here. The Republican talking points on this are fucking stupid because a lot of people say, oh, you know, I want to defend myself should the government ever want to come into my home. Like, listen, the government has fucking tanks. The government has fucking, let's keep it 100%. They have fucking lasers. They have fucking smart bombs. If they really wanted to fucking kill you, they could kill you. It doesn't matter if you have a fucking AR-15 in your goddamn house. So that's a stupid fucking argument. With that being said, I believe it is all of our rights to have guns. I believe that, again, every American that can legally own a gun should own a gun. I do. I 100% believe that. But both sides play this fucking game with our rights. Like, and the fucked up thing is, for the most part, we as citizens, we fall for that shit. Like, not me personally, because I think it's fucking stupid, but a lot of people fall for this shit. You know, they get everybody rallied up and they get everybody all fucking hyped up. Oh, they're gonna take my guns, or oh, you know, we're not gonna be able to get abortion back. You know, blah 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 blah. Like, whatever the fucking right is, they try to play these games with it, and unfortunately, too many people fall for it. You guys need to start thinking about things independently. Whatever the fuck a senator, whatever the fuck a presidential candidate, whatever the fuck a house member, fuck what they say. You do your own research. Look at the statistics, look at the data, and then see what you can find that will give you a true point. Especially don't listen to fucking Tucker Carlson and those fucking idiots. Look for data for yourself. I'm not saying that the liberal media is any better than the Tucker Carlsons of the world. They're all trash. Look at independent media. Go look at independent media, not like fucking these super extreme right-wing idiots like fucking I'm thinking Toadman here.
OAN?
No, not OAN. Even OAN's pretty bad too. But no, I'm talking about independent media. Who's the frogman that said?
Oh, Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Don't listen to Alex Jones either, because he's terrible. But go out there and actually look at actual good media, man. It's out there. It exists, unbiased. And even if there are a little biased, man, I know there's gotta be people actually talking about actual shit out there. With that being said, you know, that's my personal belief. I think it's bullshit that the Supreme Court has done what they've done to women. It's a load of horseshit. They deserve this right. It is their right. It's funny because I was literally just reading a story before we started doing the show, where a family in Texas that they admit they're Republicans, they vote Republican, apparently got pregnant, but they were having an issue where I don't want to mispronounce it, atopic or atopic, I don't remember what the exact term is. Mom was going to die if child continued to live within her. So they ended up going to New Mexico apparently and having to get an abortion there. You know, here's the thing is, I believe I've personally never dated a woman, at least that I know of, that's had an abortion. I've never been in a situation where my spouse, my significant other, person that I've dated has had to get one. But with that being said, just because I haven't experienced it doesn't mean that I don't believe it is your guys' right to have one. That's the problem with society today, is too many of you say, I don't want this to happen until it affects you. Then when it affects you, you're like, okay, maybe we should allow it. You shouldn't have to think that way. It shouldn't have to happen to you for you to understand that people have this right and that people should be heard and have the right that you may disagree with. Again, there's a lot of things that I dislike. For example, I'm not a super religious guy, but I believe whatever the fuck your religion is, you have the right to practice it. I'm not in any way, shape, or form, even though I think a lot of these, especially the super churches, I think what they do is fucking insane, and how people fall for that shit is crazy. They have a right to exist. I believe you have a right to disagree with me. I believe that it doesn't matter if we agree or not. You have a right to voice your... Here's the thing, I'll give you a little example. The KKK, I think they're fucking terrible people. I think they're garbage. I think personally, people like that should be ostracized from society as much as possible. But I believe they have a right to say what they want to say. That's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, too often do people disagree, and not just disagree, but actively look to ban the rights of other people because they're not going through it. But once they go through it, we're like, hold on, it's not happening to me. Maybe we should have this right. It's fucking ridiculous.
That's the building on the fact that Joe Biden didn't want to expand the Supreme Court for the peer. I'm guessing his fear is that he doesn't want the Supreme Court to now become politicized. It's always been fucking political.
Yeah, too late.
I was like, oh, but Trump politicized it, and when he appointed 3 judges, like, it's always been fucking politicized. You're telling me Clarence Thomas that was introduced by Ronald Reagan and appointed by George H.W. Bush. You're saying they didn't have an agenda when they appointed them. That no president has an agenda when they appoint a Supreme Court justice. That's what I never got. Was the legislative and the executive branch, those are political institutions, but the Supreme Court, the law of the land, that's supposed to be an apolitical institution, and never fucking was. It never was. That sentiment I thought was garbage. My thing is, Joe Biden is communicating to the people that he doesn't give a fuck. That they always want to take this we're going to take the high road and they take the low road. And I was like, yeah, but the high road's not fucking doing anything for us. You're basically letting these rights be eroded. And this is not only just the Roe V Wade thing, but they ruled, the Supreme Court ruled that police cannot get sued if they don't read people their Miranda rights. They just recently ruled that. And this was weeks after Joe Biden came out and said, after the Uvalde shooting, I was like, we shouldn't be defunding the police, we should be funding the police. And not only that, this was after, locally, right here, Phoenix Capitol, people were protesting Roe v. Wade being gutted like this, and guess what happened? The police were raiding right there for all the protesters and shot tear gas into the people. Kids were hurt, and people that were pregnant that were protesting, they all got tear gas in their system. That's not fucking healthy. He never gave a fuck. That's what I don't like about how when he was on the campaign trail, I was like, listen, if at this point you can't decide, or if you can't choose between me and Donald Trump,